Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel Tech Labs. In the last video, we were discussing about how to download PyCharm and how to use the print statements, how to add comments in our Python code, and what are the different Python IDEs that are available. And in this video, we would dig further and we would be talking about the data types in Python. So let's get started. So let us open a new Python file, and for that we are working in the directory that I created earlier. That's Python project 1. And if I right click here, then I would select new and then a Python file, and let's name it data types, and it would now open a new window, and its extension would be .py. So now when we are working in any programming languages, data types are really important. And one of the most common data types are string, integer, float, or double. String are majorly used to print the long statements, and integer, as its name suggests, is for numbers, and floating decimals, like the values that have points and precision, like 3.04 or 3.456. So we would be declaring some variables and their data types. So let's get started. For example, we are using a variable x, and we would be eager to use it as a string variable. So I would use a keyword called str, and then I would pass a number. Let's say I pass 3. So what it would do, it would set 3 as a string variable, not as an integer. And for my memory, for the reminder, I would use a comment here, and it would say that x would be 3. And what does that mean? Then it would not be a variable but a simple like print statement. And now if I use another variable, say integer, and I pass an int variable. For integer, I would use the keyword int that's in Python, and I would pass another number, say 3. And this time, integer variable would have 3 as an integer, not as a Python script like string. It would be simple 3 mathematical, that we can perform different calculations. On the string variable, we would not be able to perform the manipulations. So let's go to the third data type, and let's say I have a decimal number, and I assign it a floating point. Float is a keyword for decimals, and let's say I use again the number 3. What it would do, it would print my decimal number as 3.0, because now it's a float and it would take care of the decimal places. So now if I print all these variables, what would it do? Let's find out. Print integer, and then we print decimal number. So I would just go on the run, and on the run I would click on the data types. That's my new Python file name, and it would run these lines of code. So what would you see? That it would produce a string variable here, and then an integer variable that are declared in the variable name integer, and then a decimal number in the third line. So now if I want to assure the data types were correct, so what would I do? I would now print their data types as well. So let's print after I printed the variable. So I would use a print statement, then I would select a Python keyword called type, and then I would pass my variable name. So what would it do? Let's check it out. It would say that now the Python variable x, that's value was 3, is now a class string. And what would it do? Hmm? Check it out. We would use again the Python statement print, and then we would pass the keyword type, and then we would pass the integer variable. And what would it do? It would return us the type of the variable integer, that is class int. So yes, that was one way to find out. And similarly for the floating point, we would use the print statement. We would type in type, that's a keyword, and then we would put the variable name. That's in our case is a decimal number. So if I run the statement, you would see that there are different classes for the same number. If I what I have declared here, it's a string, it's an integer here, and it's in the float in the third line. So quite easy, huh? So let's dig in further. Like in the previous statements, I was using double quotes for printing. If I want to declare a string, what would I do? I would say a variable name called string mine, and then pass in double quotes a thing like Python script. And now if I use another name like I use string mine and I write the same thing using single quotes, what would it do? Now if I use a single quote like this and I write the same thing here, then would it be any different? No, because it doesn't matter if you use a double script or single script, it would print out the same thing and it would get overwritten. And one thing about Python that it is a case sensitive, which means that A is not similar to A. What does that mean? For example, if we say that A is equal to 5 and A is equal to 5, then this A, the small one, would not be overwritten because the Python is case sensitive and it would print out the same values for different A's. So now if I change the value of the capital A to 6, it would have no effect on the small a. And if I use the print statement to confirm, then we would see that they both are completely different variables. And if I run it, it would show that the small a has the value 5 and the capital A has the value 6, which assures that the Python is case sensitive.